Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Romazli Hamidi Amran. I'm from class NBF 1B, group number 5. Okay, for my group, I will be cover for for controlling chapter. Okay, first let me explain to you for organization control. Okay, for definition of organization control is process through which leaders regulate organizational activities to make them consistent with the expectation established in plans and to help them achieve all predetermined standards of perform. Okay, this shows to us that all activities are controlled by the leaders because when the activity are controlled by the leaders means everything will be online. If something's not going well, the organization may easily detect and improve the organization activities to be better. So the organization will be easily to achieve all predetermined standards of performance. Okay, now let's turn to 4 steps in the control process. First is set performance standard. Number 2 is measure actual performance. Number 3 is compare actual performance. And last is number 4 is response for deviation. Okay, let me explain to you for steps number 1, which is set performance standard. Standard performance begin to evolve only after the organization has developed its overall strategic plans and managers have defined goals for organizational department. Okay, a standard is a target which perform is compared, if measurable, specific and accepted by all organization members, and it must always be in line with the organization strategic planning. Okay, for example, is reduce customers waiting line and speed of service. Okay, for steps number 2 is measure actual performance. To measure actual performance, we have to decide such a thing as first what to measure. Okay, this involve for sales and cost. Okay, second is when to measure. Okay, for this part, it also sometimes done through the various reports like weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly reports. Okay, for number 3 is how frequently to measure. Steps number 3 is compare actual performance. For this step, it can be difficult too, depending on the nature of the performance to be measured. Okay, the greater the difference between the desire and actual performance, the greater the need for action. This relate to step number 4, which is response to deviation. Okay, the steps we have to choose, which is take corrective action, take corrective action, and take no corrective action. Okay, if the deviation is unacceptable, the response should be to take corrective action. Okay, they have to changing the behavior, activity, or aspect of the organization to bring performance into alignment with the standards. If the deviation is acceptable, and if there is no deviation, then the response should be to take no corrective action. But for this case, we have to give them a reward so that they are motivated to continue performing the standards. Okay, that's all for me. My friends Atika, Baiti, Nizam, Yani and Rosie will explain for another part. Okay, thank you.
As you can see, factors to consider when designing a control system as below. There are 4. Number 1, amount of variety in the control system. Variety refers to the number of activities, process, or items that are measured in control. System becomes more complex as the number of system elements and the number of possible of interaction among them increase. To maintain satisfactory control in any system, the control system must contain as much variety as the system being controlled. Complexity of automobile manufacturing. Parts and components, system element and interaction contain considerability variety, and they needed all stages in the manufacturing process to ensure the result meet the performance standard. 2. Ability to anticipate problems. The control process instituted several sequential events occur when performance fails to meet the established standards. Observe the undesirable deviation from sample Coca-Cola and Pepsi, proactive in anticipating problem and instituting control to ease consumer concern when the oranges' market is higher than them. 3. Sensitivity of the measuring device. Sensitivity refers to the precision with which the measurement can be made. Care must be taken to use the appropriate measuring device for the system under consideration. Example, Western Digital manufacture computer components and other electronic equipment might need a high precision micrometer to measure the diameter of the spineless used in its computer disk drive. 4. Composition of feedback reports. Reporting highlights only those items that fail to meet the established standards. It is referred to as variance reporting, highlighting only those things that fail to meet the established standards. Focusing on the elements that are not meeting the standards known as management by targets the trouble areas. There are several criteria that must be satisfied in order for a control system to be effective in detecting and correcting unacceptable performance. They have 5. 1. Related to organizational strategy. System measure what is important now and what will be important in the future, and not focus on what is important in the past. When the control system is linked to the organizational strategy, it recognizes strategic shift and it is flexible enough to measure what is important as indicated by the firm's strategy. Criteria 2. Use all steps in the control process. To be effective, a control system must apply all steps in the control process. Standard of performance must be set. Measurement of actual performance taken, comparison of standard with actual performance made, and when necessary, corrective action taken. Omitting any of these steps will detract from the effectiveness of the control system. My paper MGT 420 get B for result. But why bother to check your post grade on the midterm exam? Your control system would be incomplete. Without knowing your midterm exam score, you could not compare your actual performance with your established standards. Consequently, you would not know whether there was an undesirable deviation and whether you should prepare more truly for the final exam. Number 3, composed of objective and subjective measures. It is unlikely that a control system will lend itself to the use of a single performance measure. Often that not a number of performance measures are needed. Number 4, incorporate timelines in feedback reporting. Timelines is the degree to which the control system provides information when it is needed. Key issue here is not how fast the feedback information is provided, but whether it is provided quickly enough to permit a response to an acceptable deviation. For example, consider the air traffic controller at Kuala Lumpur International Airport who observed on the radar screen that an airplane is descending too close to an obstacle. Last criteria, acceptable to a diverse workforce. The organizational controls must be accepted by employees. The control system should motivate workers to recognize standards and act to achieve them. The more committed that employees are to the control system, the more successful the system will be.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Nurbaiti binti Nur Azman. ID number 2017-172641. My topic is selecting the proper amount of control. Okay, choosing the proper amount of control is critical of the organization that strive for quality in everything they do. Okay, so choosing the properly is not a simple matter. Okay, the first one is cost in control system. Its cost of control system have two basic category need to be controlled. The first one is cost associated with the information needed to be performed in the control system. And secondly is the cost associated with undesirable deviation from standard. Okay, cost system relay information. As the amount of control effect increase, information feedback is needed in greater amount and with the greater frequency. This information does not come without a cost. As the level control effect increase, this information cost of control will increase. The next example for the undesirable deviation from standard. The costs include the cost of correct the problem causing the undesirable deviation, material scrap cost, and rework cost, such as product warranty, repair, and replacement cost. Then next is secondly, reliability of the system. Reliability refers to the responsibility that object or process being controlled will consistently behave in an acceptable manner. Process reliability often difficult to assess because it affects both of the operating characteristic of the physical equipment and by the experience and attitude of the worker. For example, the system used in your own company. I think all of the company have their own system. That is what we call as reliability of the system. Okay, and the thirdly is the importance of the process being controlled. The more important of the object or process being controlled, the greater the amount of the control that should be exercised. Okay, the next topic is selecting the focal point for control. This type of control sometimes called as preventive control because it is designed to ensure that its quality of input is high enough to prevent problem in the transformation process. Okay, secondly is concurrent control. This form of control designed to monitor ongoing activities to ensure that the transformation process need to be functioning properly and achieve their desired result. Okay, next is feedback control. Feedback control is also referred to corrective control, and it focuses on discovering undesirable output and implementing corrective action. For example, customer buy something from a company and get the feedback. So the company need to do some corrective action from the feedback from the customer. Okay, the lastly is multiple focus point. In most organization use several control system focus on various phases of the transformation process. In this way, managers are better to control resources input, ongoing transformation activities, and final input simultaneously.
Flexible authority and trust to assess performance and correct unacceptable deviation. Okay, now part of bureaucratic and organic method of control. Firstly, for purpose, for bureaucratic control, for employee compliance, for organic control, employee commitment, for technique, under bureaucratic control, rigid rule and policy, strict hierarchy and formalized selection and training. For organic control, corporate culture, individual self-discipline, cohesive peer group and selection and socialization. For performance expectation, under bureaucratic control, clearly defined standard of individual performance. And then for organic control, intensive group or system performance. For organizational structure, under bureaucratic control, top structure and top-down control, rule and procedure for coordination and control authority reside in position. For organic control, flat structure and mutual influence, share value, goal and tradition for coordination and control, and authority reside with knowledge and expertise. For reward, For reward, for bureaucratic control based upon the individual employee achievement. For organic control based upon group achievement and equity across employee. And lastly, for participation, formalized and narrow for bureaucratic control, and for organic control, informal and broad. Alright, now I will explain part of selecting a control style in today diverse and multinational organization. Actually, for in company we need to decide what style in organization. So the top management or leader are in dilemma to choosing style for their organization, but the decision can be made easy if manager first evaluate for this factor. We have 4 factor. First factor, individual management style, organization culture, employee professionalism and performance measure. So in 4 factor must have in their company to make sure the operation can be start and finish to get the goal of the company. Alright, now my last part is about impact of information technology on organization control. In new generation, information technology is very important for the company or in organization style. That's for we live in an age when advanced information processing hardware and software occur at almost dizzying speeds. All this technology advance and improvements serve to get critical control information to manage in a more timely fashion, allow manager to make the proper control, respond more quickly, and finally disseminate the information on this decision more quickly so that the negative consequence associated with out of control situation can be minimized in company.
Ratio, in which stand for indicator of the relative effectiveness or profitability of the organization. Meanwhile, the third one is debt ratio. It was referred to indicator of the firm ability to handle long-term debt. And our last one, our last financial ratio is activity ratio, in which it was stand as an indicator of performance with respect to activi- key activities defined by management. Okay, that's all. And then the last topic is key financial term. Okay, there are 6 key financial term. The first one is asset. Okay, what's meant by asset? Asset is a thing or value that a person or organization own. And then the second one is a current asset. Current asset refer to an item that can be converted into cash in a short time period. And then the third one is fixed asset. Fixed asset can be referred to an asset that is long term in nature and cannot be converted into cash quickly. And then the fourth one is liability. Liability is a debt or obligation of the firm that the firm have. Okay, and then the fifth one is a current liability. It was referred to a debt that mean to be paid in the future. Okay, and then the last one is long-term liability. What's meant by long-term liability? Is a debt that is payable over a long time period. Okay, that's all. My presentation, my discussion about topic mechanism for financial control. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum sir and fellow friends. Today I want to discuss about ethical issues in the control of a diverse workforce and implications for leader. Okay, ethical issue in the control of a diverse workforce is to control the behavior of individuals and groups within the organizations. So ethnic issue have three, which is testing, drug testing, undercover surveillance, and computer monitoring. Okay, drug abuse result in increase in defective output, absenteeism, workplace accident, healthcare costs, and insurance claim. Okay, so drug testing is to combat the costs associated with these drug related problems. That's why organizations have to increasingly turn to drug testing. One type of drug testing is pre-employment testing. So organizations that use this approach require job applicants to submit to a drug detection test. So after that, another types of drug testing to focus on testing current employees. Organization for employees can follow any of three policies. Okay, which is first policies is random. Random testing subject employees to announce and schedule examinations. Second policy is probable cause. If employee is exhibits suspicious of or erratic behavior, or if drug we found in employee locker, there may be probable cause for testing. Lastly, accident testing may be prescribed after accident because it is conceivable that impaired motor skills may be the cause of the accident. This is a reason why organizations do drug tests. Okay, after that, undercover surveillance. Organizations are constantly subject to a variety of illegal activity that add to operating costs and increase profit. Okay, they are constantly looking for ways to control such activities. This activity is like theft, fraud, and malicious destruction or property. So organizations often resort to a variety of surveillance techniques to control these illicit activities. Okay, surveillance may be conducted by undercover internal security staff, external security firm, or electronic device. So using electronic device can use camera and hidden behind walls and ceiling to watch employees suspected of crime. So employer hidden camera to monitor its loading docks. Okay, lastly is computer monitoring. So employees spend much of their time working at computer terminals and other electronic device. So among these employee are data processor, word processor, telemarketers, and many. So technology have evolved to the point where the work of employee can be monitored electronically without knowledge through the computer with which they interface. Okay, so after that, implication for leader is successful manager in this organization will be those who can ensure that once plans have been set into place, all activities will be directed towards successfully carrying out those plans. The most effective device managers have for assessing the success of organizational activities is a basic control system. So successful leader of the future will be those who develop a control system for each important product, service, process, or activity within the organization. Second, incorporate sufficient variety, sensitivity, anticipation, capability, and feedback into the control system. Gauge the control system effective by considering its relationship to corporate strategy, its completeness, the degree to which it incorporates objective and subjective performance measures, its timelines, and its acceptability to individuals within the organization. Lastly, determine the appropriate points within the organization where control system should be focused. That's all. Thank you.